All right, so quickly want to talk about the Taurus North Node, okay? So the North Node is the spiritual path, or in some ways we can talk about it as our approach to life, right? And so when we think of the North Node, it's what we should be striving to. It doesn't mean we become that sign. Whereas our South Node is the default, or we can liken that to the past life, or who we were, what we were like in the past, okay? Whether you believe in past lives or not, it is really powerful to learn about your North Node. So the North Node in Taurus person, and again, it doesn't matter what house it's in. So like everything I always say, I would have to look at someone's entire chart and really see how things parallel or connect to other placements to really understand how it looks for an individual. But with the North Node in Taurus, we have to learn boundaries. We're here to learn boundaries. And as you get older, you're going to learn the importance of having those boundaries. You're going to feel better because you're coming from the South Node, where in the past, there would have been issues with boundaries, right? You have unresolved issues with expressing your boundaries. Or the South Node in Scorpio, in the past, you were more concerned with joining with others because Scorpio is linked to it's fixed water. And Scorpio is also deep, intense. It likes intense emotions and connections. And that's why Scorpio energy can be very, picky. I wouldn't say picky, but maybe very discriminatory about who and what they let into their heart. But when they're there, you're there. And so Scorpio energy, we're talking about complexity of emotions. Whereas Taurus is earth. So you're simplifying those things in this lifetime. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to talk more positively about the North Node in Taurus, if that's your placement, and more, not negatively, but talk more about the cons of the South Node in Scorpio, because remember, the South Node is where you need to kind of shed a little bit of those traits. Just like if I was doing a video for North Node in Scorpio, I'd be talking more about the positive of Scorpio and vice versa, right? So we're here to learn boundaries. And we sometimes have to learn other people's boundaries, to respect other people's boundaries, but also our own. And learning to say no, and learning that just because we care about someone or a cause or a situation doesn't mean we have to give our all. Venus is relaxed. And so Venus rules Taurus, right? And so you're learning how to live also in your own comfort, what makes you comfortable, right? Not how to give devotion to another or this blind devotion. It's more about what makes you comfortable and your own boundaries and your ability to say no. Now, again, it doesn't mean that you don't sometimes have those South Node traits. South Node Scorpio doesn't mean you sometimes don't have to use those Scorpio traits. And it can be complex when you have planets in the same sign as your South Node. I have Pluto and Saturn in the same house as my South Node in Scorpio, and they're all in Scorpio, right? So it doesn't mean you're not going to use that energy. I don't want anyone to be like, oh, I can't, use my Scorpio energy. No, you can, but you need to strive for simplicity. Taurus North Nodes. Simplicity, what makes sense, what is practical. You can't over rely on emotions. You're here to learn. You've done that already. That's what I'm trying to say. You've done that already. You're here to learn how to accumulate. So Taurus is the second sign of the zodiac. It's the first sign where we learn how to build something sustainable. Can this support something? Can we have something we're going to be able to kind of layer on top of? How do we build up? We have to have a foundation first. That's Taurus North Node. You need to learn how to foundations. How do you build a foundation? It doesn't happen overnight. So Taurus North Node people, we have to learn how to build up. And it might feel daunting at times where we might feel like somebody else has this or that, or someone else didn't have to build up, or they had it easier. We are here to learn to build and to have, resourcefulness. Yeah, resourcefulness. We're here to learn to have that. And we're here to learn how to also be resilient. Right? And how we do that by building our own sense of security, having our own. Scorpio is linked to joint assets. If you go to the 8th house, no, maybe not Scorpio, the 8th house energy, 8th house is ruled by Mars and Pluto. We know the 8th house has Scorpio energy, right? But Scorpio can also be pretty good at business. Why is that? Because Scorpio is really good with joining assets with another. Mars and Pluto rule Scorpio. So regardless of all that emotional stuff we talk about, business is a strong suit of most Scorpios. Money, being able to control money can be pretty good for most of these Scorpios in general. So joint assets. In the past, you maybe joined with other people or your partner or whoever. You joined up. But now you're here to learn how to build your own foundation. Taurus North Node people, you cannot rely on anyone else. That doesn't mean you can't accept. If your partner makes more money than you, your marriage, your spouse makes more money than you, or people give you money, I don't know, right? I'm not saying that can't happen. I'm saying you still need to have your own. You should never 100% not have your own, because you're going to feel more sense of satisfaction when you have your own anyway. Okay. And so that is part of it with self-sufficiency. We're learning that, right? We're learning how to stand on our own and look around and assess what makes me comfortable. And what makes you comfortable might not mean what other people need or want. So you're learning how to attune to your own needs. Doesn't mean you're selfish. In fact, by Taurus North Node people, when you're in your zone and you are building for yourself, guess what? You're building the foundation for everybody else. It starts with you sometimes. So you're unlike your South Node Scorpio energy, where you're coming from a time where you're linking up with someone else, or you're devoting to maybe someone else's cause. And even if you were successful in the past, now you're here to learn how to build something that's going to be stable. And again, whatever that something is, it's up to you, right? I'm not going to tell you what that is. I could say like North Node and Taurus people, you should do this job or that job. I think it's more important to tell you the essence of the energy and have you apply stability to your position, your job, your career, your goal, your dream. You get what I'm saying? I'd rather tell you the general stuff and have you connect the dots and not say, you're a Taurus North Node, so you have to do this job. You can do whatever job you want to do, but you have to have resources first. You have to build up. You have to learn about it first. It might be slow. You might start off, you might be someone that, you want to be I'm making this up, but you want to be a major singer or something like that. You want to be famous, and you started out someone's backup singer for years, and then you blew up from one song. See what I'm saying? You might have been someone that started out as like an assistant to someone, and then you build up. That happens a lot to Taurus North Node people. So yes, we can. It's okay to like kind of take on roles that are not what you want at first, because it can work for you. Venus rules Taurus. You're eventually going to get there, but Taurus can also be slow moving, right? It can be slow moving. It's not an impulsive sign. That it doesn't mean sometimes we don't have to be impulsive. It doesn't mean we sometimes don't have to act. It doesn't mean don't take opportunities. That's not what this means at all. I'm moon in Sagittarius. Okay, so sometimes I'm gonna have to be a little bit impulsive or reactive to things. So I'm not saying don't ever do that. I'm saying the way in which you approach your life, it's okay. Now the thing is, complacency. You don't get to a place of complacency, right? You're there in that position, or you're there in that situation to build yourself up. Let's say your goal is to have a really nice house or something like that one day, and you don't like where you live. Well, your goal is to build up, save, research, make sure you really understand how to get that house you want before you get there, because it's going to move smoother for you because you did all your work. You did the work first. That's the thing with Taurus North Nodes. We do the work first. We do the grunt work sometimes, and then you're going to see us kind of start to move, because remember, Venus rules money, possessions, gain. Venus is not just love and partnership. It's also the financial part of it, the stability part of it. Okay, so you can gain, and you can see materials. Taurus energy, it's what Taurus is like, material wealth or possessions. But how does Taurus get there? It works. People don't really give Taurus energy stuff. You don't get it. You don't just get it, right? Typically, you have to put some work in, and that's okay. But I was saying about the house situation. Like, so you're someone that wants a house, a really nice house one day. You dream of it, but you don't like where you live right now. Well, you have to stack up. Unlike somebody else that might be gifted a house by their parents or something like that, you might have to work for it. But remember, you cannot allow yourself to be complacent, because we can fall prey to that, because Venus is a relaxed planet. So you don't want to, and especially if you already have Taurus in your chart, right? You don't want to just stay there, right? You're building up for a reason. So you have to use that time where you're building up very, very carefully. The other thing with your South Node is you're used to trying to get control from others. So at Scorpio, South Node people, in the past, there was an issue with control. You maybe try to get your source of power from others as a South Node in Scorpio. I'm not talking about the North Node in Scorpio right now. Remember that. I'm not talking about North Node right now. So you're here now to learn your own power, but your power comes through your boundaries this time around. Your power comes from you, right? Knowing what you need. Other people are going to try to tell you what you need. You kind of assess what you need. And the way in which you do it is, when life feels chaotic, go back to the basics. And I know that sounds so simple, And again, it doesn't mean different things in your life can't be complex. I'm not saying be simple-minded. I'm saying be authentic. This is earth, fixed earth. You need to go back to the source. Your fixed earth North Node requires you to go back to the source. When something's going wrong, go back to the basics and find out where you're missing. And 9 times out of 10, because you're trying to make things too complicated. You're trying to make everything deep. You want everything to have meaning. And again, I do astrology and I do tarot reading, so I know meaning and purpose is important in our lives. I get that. But I'm saying go back to the basics. And sometimes that's where you find your answer. Go back to the source. Because right now, you're used to being in your emotions. South Node, Scorpio. You're used to making emotional decisions. Well, Taurus North Node, you need to now make practical decisions. You have to use what you see. You have to use, did you gain from that? Did you get from that? Here's what I'm trying to do. Am I seeing results? And again, your results are not going to be overnight. And they're slow. It might feel slow sometimes. It doesn't mean you have to wait years and years and decades. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you probably can't be the person that just quit your job randomly. Now, unless it's a toxic environment, I can get that. But, like you're probably going to need to have a backup plan. So Taurus North Node, we always have to have backup plans. We always have to have backup plans. We can't do what North Node and Gemini is doing. We can't do what North Node and Aries is doing. We have to have backup plans. Okay? We have to be resourceful. We have to always have more than what we show. We have to always have more than what others see. And that's just anything. Now, when we think about the placement it does matter because you look at where you are, right? Where you are in your life, and it might change. Where you are in your life might change, but the house in which it's in can also be really helpful for you understanding what you do. My North Node in Taurus is in the 9th house. 9th house associated with what? Wisdom, philosophy. It's associated with morality, travel, things like that. And so again, I had to look at mine and say, like, well, how does that mean for me, right? Message, truth, also 9th house, truth, and all that different stuff, right? So I had to look and like, well, I'm an educator, like literally, like not just online, right? I'm an educator, I work in education. So I'm like, so I provide the foundation for people to learn and be able to apply what they learn. Okay. Or I try to teach through lens of truth, right? I try to teach how to have an expansive mind. Learning is not just to learn, it's to do something with it. So that's how I applied my North Node in Taurus. I provide the foundation for people to explore because, I might not be their final destination, right? But I spark that. I spark that initial, I give that foundation of what it is to learn how to maybe approach this concept of, learning truth and wisdom and thinking in a more expansive way. So that's how I linked myself to my North Node. And again, if your North Node is in the 3rd house, if your North Node, you might be someone that writes or you spark ideas in other people. But the thing with the Taurus North Node is you are here to provide a foundation and you start with yourself and then you're able to do it for others. And again, sometimes it's not going to be the most fancy, ritziest feeling. You're not have the most fancy, ritziest life, but you earn from the fact that you are able to sustain yourself and be within your own boundaries. And that's really going to make you the most happy is when you are making decisions for you and you see that it worked out for you. That is where you're going to find that you feel the most evolved and you feel the most connected to your spiritual purpose.